Hi, brothers and sisters. I wanted to share an epiphany I had about how the 3 days of darkness and the Exodus story perfectly foreshadow the two raptures on this timeline. Many people have been warning that the 3 days of darkness would take place right before the first rapture on the Feast of Trumpets. If you aren't aware of the 3 days of darkness that are coming, I've left a few links to some videos about them in the description box below. So, if you've read the Exodus story, the Israelites still had light during the 3 days of darkness. This matches many of the messages people have received regarding the upcoming 3 days of darkness, during which believers who are walking closely with Jesus will still have supernatural light in their homes. In the Exodus story, this plague of darkness led directly into the 10th and final plague, the death of the firstborn. So the death of the firstborn involved God personally taking the spirits of the firstborn from every household in Egypt to heaven, leaving their physical bodies dead. All of Egypt mourns afterwards. I believe the depiction of this in the Prince of Egypt movie is spot on. So I'll lay out the symbolism or foreshadowing for each part of this event. Egypt represents the Gentiles or the world, so the firstborn of Egypt represents the firstfruits of the Gentiles or the bride of Christ. That means the death of the firstborn foreshadows the first rapture event for the bride of Christ, which causes the whole world to mourn the sudden disappearance of millions, including all of the children. The death of the firstborn happened during the first spring feast of Passover, which foreshadows the first rapture for the bride during the first fall feast, the Feast of Trumpets. Now let's move on to the crossing of the Red Sea by the Israelites. If you recall the story, the Israelites reached the Red Sea, but Pharaoh changes his mind about letting them go and begins to pursue them in order to kill them. Then God parts the Red Sea to allow the Israelites to escape from Pharaoh. So what is the symbolism here? The Israelites are a much larger group than the firstborn of Egypt, numbering in the millions. They are made up by the house of Israel and the house of Judah. The house of Israel represents the Western Christian nations, plus a mixed multitude of nations that is mentioned in Exodus 12:38. Essentially, the house of Israel are Christians, or the body of Christ. We also know from the timeline that they are also the Revelation 12 man-child. By the way, if you're interested in the biblical support for this, please check out Brother Tim Foster 405's channel. The house of Judah are the Jews, also known as the remnant of Israel or the Revelation 12 woman. Pharaoh is Satan, or the Revelation 12 dragon, who pursues the man-child and the woman. The Red Sea represents the waters above the firmament that separates the earth from heaven. In a more literal sense, it also represents protection from Pharaoh or the dragon. So when we put all this together, we can understand that the crossing of the Red Sea by the Israelites symbolizes both the second rapture to heaven for the body of Christ and also the flight to the wilderness for the remnant of Israel. Before I wrap this up, I also want to talk about the timing of the Red Sea crossing. According to various sources, it took the Israelites 3 to 7 days to reach the Red Sea after leaving Egypt during the night of Passover. That means that they arrived somewhere between the 3rd and 7th day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which perfectly matches with the timeline showing that the second rapture and the remnant of Israel fleeing into the wilderness will happen on the 5th day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So to summarize, the Exodus story is a perfect parallel showing us what is about to happen with the 7-year tribulation, confirming that this timeline is correct. When the 3 days of darkness begins with the sign of the aurora lights in the sky, likely on September 20th or 21st, please cover up your windows and don't look outside no matter what to protect you from seeing the demons that will be lurking in the darkness at that time. Make sure your doors are all locked and don't let anyone in, even if they see that they're your family, friend, or neighbor. The demons will be imitating them to trick you into letting them in. Spend those days fasting and in prayer, and minister to your lukewarm or unbelieving family or friends if they are with you. Although this all sounds frightening, these days of darkness will be a huge blessing for those of us who are eagerly awaiting for Jesus to take us home. All worldly distractions will be removed at that time, so we can focus on preparing our hearts to meet him. With only a few days left before the Feast of Trumpets, let's finish the story strong. God bless.